How many of you like fresh baked bread? Well, we have had a bread machine in our family for probably 15 to 20 years. It started leaking. I would put the ingredients in the pan and there would be a little puddle of water underneath because the seal in the bottom was leaking. So in this episode, I'm going to show you how you can repair that, and hopefully you'll take away not only how to fix a bread machine, which you'll probably never have to do, but the idea that when something breaks, you can probably fix it with a little research and a little trial and error, and we'll see how it goes with this one. So the idea with the bread machine is it's really nice. You put all the ingredients in the pan, stick it in here, close the lid, set the timer, and 3 hours later, you got a fresh baked loaf of bread that's delicious. And we enjoyed that for years until this bottom started leaking. Let me show you some close-up pictures so you can see how it works. So this is the bottom of the pan. There's this little part here that rotates when the motor's on. You see that little tiny movement it's going around now. That rotates, and this sits in that and gets rotated by that. So that turns around. This little piece is what goes through the pan. So the bottom part that rests in that sticks up here. This paddle sits on that, and it's got a little key. Notice how one side's flat. It looks like a D shape. And there's also a flat edge on that. That sits on this, and that motor is what rotates this. That's what mixes the dough, the ingredients, once you put it all in there. Well, the problem is there's a seal there, and it started leaking. So we're going to see if we can fix that seal in the bottom of the pan. Okay, one of the things that's going to happen if you need to do a repair on something and you got to look for parts, I'm going to need parts for this. So we're going to go to the internet and search for parts, but we'll need to know the model number. In this case, the model number is right here. So we're going to take that down and search for that on the internet for what the parts we're looking for. For this part now, we've got to find the part that we're looking for on the internet. TR2200C, right there. Okay, 20 bucks, 4 rivet. One thing I notice on here when I'm looking at this is this one says 4 rivet. And I believe what that is talking about, notice in the bottom of the pan there are 4 rivets. I think some of these parts actually had 3 rivets when I was shopping before. So you want to make sure you get the right part when you're ordering the parts online. So for us, it is the 4 rivet one. It looks like that's what I need. So we'll go ahead and order that. All right, I got all the parts out here in the garage. For starters, it says take this bottom piece off and then reassemble it. So I'm just trying to spread this apart. So now I'm spreading this apart. Probably shouldn't look like this now, but that's the snap ring. I had to get it and spread it apart. They've got replacement snap rings in the new part, so we'll use that when we put it back on. And let's just... So now the paddle that goes on the bottom and the stem are separated, and there's a little groove on the stem that snap ring goes into. It tells us to clean this off. You'll see one other groove here, and that should have another retention component in it, and I think that's probably partly what failed. We're going to clean this off. All right, guys, you got to help me get the sponsorship from Home Depot so we can get new tools. And they're one of my favorite stores anyway. Now I want it to go as fast as it can. Okay, so we'll do this now. All right, that's shinier than it was, cleaner than it was. Now we need to get this part, the seal, out of the bottom, because this old one, by design, it would have come up when we pulled this out through the top. We didn't pull it out through the top. So this is the old seal. This is the new seal. Let's see if we can put it back together now. So I got these really fine needle nose pliers. They're not snap ring pliers. They're small enough, the tips are small enough that they'll go in through these little holes And when I do that, I can spread it apart and put it over the shaft. Put the paddle down. We'll want to make sure the teeth, so this has a little bit of a D shape to it as well. Sometimes it's called a key. So that's going to orient on the flat side of this. And we want to make sure, when we look at this, we want the teeth down because that's going to engage with the paddles on the inside of the bread machine. All right, we've reassembled that. Now, the last thing we've got then is to put the seal down on the top, because this is actually supposed to be the seal for the liquids. So we're going to just slide this over. This is just a rubber part. It's got a seal on the inside and then a seal on the outside. So this is going to seal on the outside with the pan and on the inside with the shaft. Okay, so now the seal is seated in there. If I turn on the back, I don't know if you can see how that rotates. And then the kneading paddle, this is called, this sits on it. I think we're ready. Now, I'm all excited to go do that, but it's easiest to clean up while you're going. So I'm going to just clean up all the stuff we've got here first. And don't think you'll come back to it later, because you usually don't. So, stepsons, always remember to clean up, preferably as you go, but definitely as soon as you're done. All right, stepsons, now we've got it all together, but before I make bread, which I'm going to show you how, we're going to wash this, because we haven't washed it and we've just been working on it with tools and stuff. Go watch the video about how to do dishes to learn more about doing dishes. And I'm going to clean this up and then we're going to bake some bread. One thing I should have done first was check the leak test. The reason the seal wasn't good, I'd put water in there as one of the ingredients for the bread, and there would be a puddle underneath the tank, underneath the pan, after just a minute or two. And so it would slowly leak and the moisture was leaking. I filled it up to here, which is a lot higher than it normally is with bread ingredients. And so far it's looking good. So we've checked it. Our seal is sealing, and hopefully it'll function that way for a lot of loaves of bread. All right, stepsons, now it's time to actually bake bread. It comes from this book that we've had for a long time. All right, so 1 1/4 cups water, sugar. I'm gonna use this, bought it for a camping trip. 1 tablespoon. 3 1/2 cups, I'm doing all white flour. 1 1/2 teaspoons salt. 1 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. I've made a little hole in the top of the flour so that I can put the yeast in that. So I'm gonna stick the yeast in there. 1 1/2 teaspoons of yeast and put it in there. We're ready to stick it in the machine. One thing you have to know for sure with this is that it actually seats. If it doesn't seat, we've done it before where the paddle doesn't engage and it's not mixing the batter, and all of a sudden you've got a clump of ingredients. Ingredients are mixing. I'm gonna just check it in a little bit, scrape down the sides potentially. Usually it mixes pretty well, but sometimes some of the flour gets caught in the corner. If you mix it in while it's still mixing, then you get a more even loaf of bread. All right, stepsons, I don't know if you can see it in the video. There's steam coming out right here, and the timer's down to 1 minute, and we're gonna have some delicious, fresh baked, homemade bread momentarily. So just remember, if you are a boy growing up without a dad and you're finding value from these, and I hope you are, then make sure you share this with your friends, like and subscribe, and that will help promote this to others. There's the timer. Now you can see. So it looks like our repair worked. I didn't have leakage in the pan. We have now a sufficiently cooled loaf of homemade white bread. So remember, if you have stuff around your house that has broken apparently, and normally you would have thrown it out or it'd sit there because you don't know how to fix it, do a little research and see what you can do to find parts. If you need to find parts, order the parts. If it's cheaper than buying a new one, buy a lot, then give it a try. You got nothing to lose. Oh, you gotta have honey on fresh baked homemade bread too. Good stuff. Oh, there it is. We'll edit that one out too. I'm gonna need my eye assistance. Thanks to getting older. And then let's see if I can do. I think the wire wheel poked me on the thumb, and I didn't realize it was even bleeding. You don't want blood in your bread either. So I did wash my hands off